Mind control for the masses. No implants needed. A wave of startups wants to make brain-computer interfaces accessible without needing surgery. Just strap on the device and think. When Sid Coutier showed up at Slush, the annual startup showcase in Helsinki, wearing an ascot cap and device he claimed would usher in the new era of technological mind control, no one thought he was crazy. No, he was merely joining the long line of entrepreneurs, for example Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, who believe that we will one day manage our machines with our thoughts. The quest to meld mind and machines dates back to at least the 1970s, when scientists began in earnest to drill into people's skulls and implant the first brain-computer interfaces, electrodes that translate brain cell activity into data. Today, BCIs can regulate tremors from Parkinson's disease and restore some basic movements in people with paralysis, but they are still surgically implanted and still quite experimental. Even so, the likes of Musk already envisions a future where we'll all have chips in our brains, and they'll replace our need for keyboards, mouses, touchscreens, joysticks, steering wheels, and more. Of course, that won't happen anytime soon. The mysteries of the mind remain vast, and implanting hardware in healthy brains, well, forget about that, at least until the FDA deems it safe light years away. In the meantime, a wave of companies is betting on bringing mind control LITE to the masses with a neural interface that requires no surgery whatsoever. Mind control technology, no implants needed. That's where Coutier comes in. His startup, called NextMind, makes a non-invasive neural interface that sits on the back of one's head and translates brainwaves into data that can be used to control compatible software. Coutier's vision began with simple tasks, that is, sending text messages with a thought, calling up a specific photo in your camera roll with passing thoughts, and then somewhere close to science fiction, that is, controlling every device in our world like the sorcerer in Fantasia. This is real, he said, on stage at Slush, and the possibilities are endless, he said. Going the non-surgical route comes with some trade-offs, namely that all that skin and bone between your soggy brain and any device that's tried to read the neural signals it emits. On the other hand, it's cheaper, it's safer, and it's much easier to iterate or push software updates when you don't need to open up someone's head. And for all the promise of BCIs, people first need to see that this stuff can be useful at all, and for that, devices like NextMind will do the trick. I had a chance to try out the NextMind device a few weeks after Coutier gave his Slush talk. He had taken a flight from Paris to San Francisco and carried the device casually in his bag. It weighs about 60 grams, about as much as a kiwi fruit, and bears a passing resemblance to flattened TIE fighter. And the NextMind device is basically a dressed up electroencephalogram, or EEG, which is used to record electrical activity on the brain. It's not so different from the tools Coutier used as a professor of neuroscience before he ran NextMind. His lab is in Paris and he specializes in studies of consciousness. In a hospital setting, EEGs often require the use of gel and some skin preparation, but recently researchers have developed functional dry electrodes that only require contact with the skull. The NextMind devices use these, along with a proprietary material that Coutier says is very sensitive to electrical signals. He would not tell me what exactly the material is. Coutier placed a device on my head. It comes with little comb-like teeth that brush through the hair to hold the device in place, right on the back of the skull. Coutier, who is bald, wears it clipped to the back of his hat. And there, the device's electrodes are well positioned to record activity from the visual cortex, a small area in the rear of the brain. When it translates the signal to digital data, processes then on the computer, uses a machine learning algorithm to decipher them, and translates those signals into commands. On a laptop, Coutier walked me through a calibration exercise to create my neural profile, in essence how my visual cortex lit up in response to my eyes focusing on specific things. I followed a series of flashing triangles around the screen. You only have to do this once and only for a couple of minutes. Then the NextMind device is designed to work on anyone, but it works faster when someone has had practice. Coutier says it's about a neural feedback loop. When I focus on that, then that happens on the screen. Neural profile generated. I was all ready to play some games, and NextMind will announce its developer kit at CES in January. In an effort to court developers, the company has designed a few demos to show off what the device can do. I tried one that's a riff on Nintendo's Duck Hunt, which Coutier played as a kid. As ducks danced across the screen, Coutier leaned over. "Try to shoot him," he whispered, "with your brain." I focused my gaze on the ducks, and in less than a second they exploded. This little magic trick was repeated through a series of demos. I changed the channel on a mock TV set by glancing at one corner of the screen. I cracked a digital vault by concentrating on the right numbers on a pin code. I changed the colors on a set of smart light bulbs that Coutier has set up for me. It's hard to say why you need to do these things with your mind, but when you do, you really feel like a Jedi. My NextMind is not the only company trying to develop for the masses non-invasive BCIs. Another startup, CTRL Labs, released a developer kit last year for a similar non-invasive neural interface. It also uses dry electrodes, but this device is an armband and captures signals from nerves. Facebook acquired the company for close to $1 billion in September. A few months earlier, I had a chance to try out CTRL Labs device myself. The demo was designed to show off the company's vision. The question that CTRL Labs is not how do we make our devices more capable, as co-founder Thomas Reardon told an audience at Slush at 2018. He says, it's how do we ourselves become more capable? I strapped the device on my arm and played some games. One involved a dinosaur jumping over a series of obstacles. I thought, jump, and with just a twitch of my arm, the dinosaur jumped. At one point, Patrick Kafos, then CTRL Labs CTO, now Facebook Reality Labs research manager, entered the credentials to unlock his laptop by simply staring at it. Neuro Authentication, he called it. Neuro Authentication. That device, like most of the work in BCIs, makes use of the motor cortex, a part of the brain that manages movement. Reardon's breakthrough was in singling out the neurons in your spinal cord, which send electrical signals to your arm and hands, rather than going to the brain region itself. Most of the critical work around BCI also involves the motor cortex, in part because so much of the research was focused on movement disorders. Parkinson's, paralysis, and so on. But Coutier thinks the visual cortex offers a richer set of neural signals for people trying to control their personal devices. When I asked him why so much of the work was being done in the motor cortex, he paused and then said, I think that's because they're making a mistake. Because the NextMind device utilizes signals associated with sight, the technology can feel a little like goosey up eye tracking. So what if you can change the channel with your eyes? People have been doing that for years. After the demo, Coutier claimed his BCI could work even if I closed my eyes. Right now you control things with your gaze. Soon, Coutier believes the device will be able to tap into your imagination, turning visual thoughts into actions. The problem with some of these BCI devices, though, is not whether they can become fast enough to enhance gameplay or control smart home devices. It's whether anyone cares to. Interaxon, a Canadian startup, used to make a head-worn device that could control lights with the power of thought, but eventually gave it up. Frankly, you could just turn the thing with your hand much more readily, the company co-founder Ariel Garten told Scientific American. While arguably there would be accessibility use cases for this technology, Interaxon pivoted to make Muse a meditation headband. And as he gins up interest in his developer kit, Coudier is pitching the idea that NextMind's device and other non-invasive neural interfaces of its ilk will be like the touchscreen or the computer mouse, the thing that upsets the way we interact with our personal technology. At this early stage, though, BCI is more like the virtual reality headset that the next great interface, mind-blowing in their demos, but easy to put back in the box. And this is on Calyptus Spark by Ariel Paredes on Wired. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.